Hi, hello, I hope you're having a good day wherever you are today. And today I'm going to do a little tutorial for downward facing dog. Now, I chose downward facing dog strategically because we do it a lot in both classes, the yin style and the strength and stretch style, which is kind of a mix between hatha yoga and vinyasa yoga. So I am about to give you a lot of information. So if you don't remember it all, it is okay. And this is a posture that we use a lot because of a couple reasons. It's fantastic for your health, but also it's symmetrical, all right? So you're using both sides the same. It is an inversion where the head is below the hips, the head is below the heart, and it allows for oxygenated blood to kind of rush to the head and you just kind of get this energy. And so right now, for a lot of you guys, it may feel like a pose that is a lot of work. But once you continue to practice it, because this is a practice, you will eventually find, I can't give you a timeline, that's between you and your body and how much you practice. You will eventually find that this is a resting pose. And it's a lovely pose. So downward facing dog is the one where we look like an upside down V. We literally could spend an entire weekend in a workshop on this posture. There's so much to be said about it. So I'm not gonna be telling you every little thing. I'm gonna be starting off with the basic cues and how to get in it, where the feet should go, where the hands should go. Then we're gonna start moving into some deeper cues, proper hand placement, shoulder placement. Then we're gonna be starting to talk about energy locks within it. And that is particularly with the bandhas. So you've got your Mula Bandha, which is your pelvic lock, and your Uddiyana Bandha, which is right here. We're gonna be talking about those. And I'm gonna try to keep this video under 10 minutes, so let's get started. Don't forget, get a notepad. I want you to also consider doing this as I'm talking about it, trying it out for yourself. And I'm gonna give you some breaks in there to do that. Write notes, write questions down so you can ask me. I'm happy to answer them for you. So here we go. So for downward facing dog, we're gonna start into plank pose or tabletop, all right? And I usually say exhale to get in there because you'll see why in a second, all right? It's very odd to do it with an inhale and it's kind of bringing everything in and centered. So that's why we exhale during that time. So we're in plank pose. Starting from here, let's start with the hands. The fingertips, anytime you're on a foundation on your hands, fingertips are spread wide. And I'd like you to think about keeping a little bit of weight in the thumb and the finger because that's the stronger part of your hand. So if we can keep some weight in that area, that's good. But it also does help keep your shoulders in alignment. So here we are, fingers spread, fingertips forward, all right? You'll hear some people say that the pinky should be parallel to the edge of the mat. You know, I just say fingertips forward because all of our structures, our bone structures, our joints are so different. So you work on that and do what's most comfortable for you, all right? And so from there, we're gonna tuck the toes. We're gonna exhale, trying to use that core strength, lifting up the hips, pushing the weight back, but also still keeping the weight here on the hands, all right? So we're all gonna start with bent knees. Now, we lift the tailbone up, but listen, if your hips aren't able to make this tight V, you may be more right here, all right? And that's okay, we're still working on lifting and pressing. So now we're gonna take the feet, take them hip width apart. Hip width, all right, let's talk about this real quick. Hip width is hip bones, not flesh. However, once you get into downward facing dog, who's on there? Hey, Kim. Once you get into downward facing dog, then if you decide your feet need to go wider, take them wider, all right? I'm giving you the basics, but again, this is something you have to play with and to get comfortable with it. That's all that is to it, all right? And as you play with it, I'll be there right by your side to help you figure out which way is best for you. So we're taking a deep breath in, try it with me. Exhale, lifting up the hips, bending the knees, pressing weight back. Still keeping the weight on the thumb and forefinger, not all of it, but more of it than the outside of the hands. Now we drop the head here. You can keep the heels lifted. If you have a hard time flexing your feet, y'all, your heels are gonna be lifted and they may never even hit the ground, and that's okay. Your hamstrings are tight. Maybe you've got that tight hip joint that I was just talking about, and your legs never straighten. That's okay, right? So here we go. You're here, the head drops. The gaze is technically at the belly button. When I do that, I feel very uncomfortable. And they're doing that because there's an energy lock in your throat also, and that can lock it when you're there. I look at my knees and soften my gaze. So try this with me. Come on, come with me if you're not already here. Spread the toes out. See how the ankles feel. Take a couple breaths here. You can even shake the head around. Let the head just dangle. Let the head dangle. And your biceps are usually by your ears or your forehead. If this is really tight on the shoulders, open your hands out a little bit more. And now look at your heels. If we want to track the ankles properly, so try to hide the heels behind your toes. There you go. See how that feels. Nice. Now come out and take a rest. And so when we track the ankles behind the toes like that, it's just making sure that the joint is working the way it should. It's not an, I don't know how to show you this. It's not like this, right? Like this or like this. It's tracking properly. And so now you're not pulling on the ligaments and the tendons in the wrong direction. And the head is soft, all right? Your gaze is soft as well. So open your mouth, relax your jaw, move the wrist around. When you're first trying this, you're gonna need to stop and take some wrist breaks. Let's go back into it again. So I'm gonna come into it from plank. I'm tucking my toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Nice. Now, you shouldn't have to move your feet. I do. I do because it feels better. That's the only reason, all right? But if it doesn't feel, you don't feel like you need to, then don't. Now we're checking the ankles. We're just kind of going side to side. See how this feels, dropping the head. Maybe the head is kind of, now when it's dropped, maybe it's a little inside the arms. All right. See if you want to tuck your chin a little more. Do you like that? What happens to the shoulders? Keep the knees bent. If you want to try to straight or pushing the heels towards the mat, you can. How does that feel on the front of the ankles, the back of the ankles? Now I want everybody look, I'm teaching it like I'm teaching a real class. Everybody look at your kneecaps. Try to engage the quads just a little bit to lift them. Boom. So that helps us, that prevents us from locking out the knee. I'm gonna do it this way against the white wall so you can see a difference. And that's why I'm wearing a white top, black bottom, so you can also see the split in the upper and lower body. All right, so here we go. We're lifting up into downward facing dog. Yeah, I like that better. You can kind of see how my knees are slightly bent, not locking out. So we're getting long. Think about pushing a little bit more weight in the back legs. You still got that weight in the front, but push a little bit more weight into the back legs. Bend the knees if you need to. Lift the belly button towards the upper thighs. And we're gonna come down. All right, shake it out. So we're moving on to the shoulders. Yes, you're gonna feel that in the hamstring. It's a great hamstring stretch. If you have tight glutes, you may feel that in the glutes. When you're coming in and out of it, do so very slowly. So it's plank into downward facing dog, back into plank. Move your wrist around. Hey, can you do this? Now can you do it the other way? That's all I can do. Okay, so enough playing around, guys. We have downward facing dog to do. Now, downward facing dog, we're gonna move on to the shoulders, all right? The arms and the shoulders. So what a lot of us have a tendency to wanna do is to, one, maybe lock out the elbows in downward facing dog, or have the elbows out like this, all right? So when you're in downward facing dog, come back with me. Something to think about is to bend the elbows slightly. And when you bend them, you want them to start to bend towards your knees, towards your toes, okay? Now, this is not proper shoulder alignment and it's really rough on the wrist. And then we lock out like this, that's just tough on your elbow joints. So we keep it to where the bicep is engaged. So it's almost, can you see the difference between this, just the straight arm, and then engaging the bicep a little bit? I don't know if you can see it. It's not working as well as I wanted it to. Maybe because my bicep's not big enough. But it puts a slight bend in the elbow, but we're still keeping the elbow straight. So we're stacked. We are stacked. We've got a solid foundation. The arms are strong. Now we move on to the shoulders and the chest. A lot of times what we want to do in the shoulders, I'm going to show you here, is we want to squeeze the shoulders towards the spine. You see that? But what I want y'all to do is to draw the shoulders away from the spine. Bend the elbows, make sure the elbows are still towards the knees. See the difference there? Shrugging shoulders and then opening the back of the heart. That is so important because I will tell you, for years I did this wrong. Well before I became a yoga instructor, well before, I mean, it was actually during my personal training years because I wasn't instructed properly how to do it. But that is very important. I kept feeling this pinching in my shoulders and it just made it not a pleasurable experience for me. So think of it this way. I'm gonna turn this way. Wait, no, yeah. So see the difference between here, right? And then keeping the elbow strong, right? Here. It's almost like, try it. It's almost like squeeze the shoulders together. It's almost like you're hollowing out the armpits. You're drawing the outside of the shoulder blade forward. Downward facing dog. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Now unsqueeze them. Draw the outside of the shoulder blades to the toes. Keep the head dropped. Arms strong. Boom. Now this is more of an intermediate cue that I don't necessarily give off in class a lot, because when you say hollow out the armpits or spread the back of the upper back, it's kind of like, what is she talking about? So I want you to try that. Arms here, squeeze the shoulder blades together. You're gonna see I'm tight back there, right? Now look at how broad my shoulders get. Now draw the shoulder blades forward. Boom, yes. Hey, you know what this looks like? This is the shoulders for mountain pose. This is the shoulders for warrior two. So mountain pose is where it all begins for all of these postures. So, but we don't do mountain pose a lot in this group. So I'll do a tutorial on that. Maybe next week, that'll be where we are, because it really is great to help with posture. Okay, so now that's a lot of information. I know. Work on those shoulders. It will definitely make this experience much more pleasurable for you. So you're in plank again. We're starting in plank because this is kind of our markers for our feet. And another reason we go into exhale, into downward facing dog, is because we're locking in energy in the core. Look at my belly. Look at it right now. Downward facing dog without an energy lock, without a core engaged. Now I'm going to engage that core. Whoa! See the difference there? That is the reason for the exhale. One of many reasons. So you can just put your hand right here on your belly. It's called the Uddiyana Bandha, and Bandha is an energy lock, breath lock. And we exhale as we draw the belly in and up. All right? It's kind of that solar plexus, or not solar plexus, but third chakra area. Okay. Now, one other thing I'm gonna talk to you about, and this is, you'll hear me say this in some of our stretch and strength classes. So when we're talking about that locking, one of the things that we also lock on the exhale is the pelvic floor. For me personally, you guys, when I started locking the pelvic floor and the core, my yoga game changed. When I say game, I use that very loosely. My practice changed. It became so much more clear to me how important core is into yoga, which is why I do 1 day of 5-minute exercises on this that y'all can do throughout the week, because it's that important. But now you know, when we're doing any of the yoga that's not yin, you have that opportunity to work the core. Hell, when you're sitting at your desk working, exhale, draw it in, lock it in. And I'm not talking about sucking it up like you're going to the beach. Just draw it in and up, firm it up. And the pelvic floor, guys, it's like a Kegel. Lift the pelvic floor. And not only as we age is this very helpful for reasons that many of us may know of. Don't jump on the trampoline long, Erica. Everybody in this family knows that. It definitely will help with that, and it'll lock that energy in here. That's a creative area, all right? So as we're doing yoga, as we're practicing our yoga, and we lock in that creative energy in that area in there, it's really important. So I'm gonna go through it one more time, and please stop the video whenever you need. I should have told you that at the beginning. And on the exhale, I'm going to lock both the Mula and the Uddiyana Bandha. It's just the pelvic floor and the core lock, all right? So I'm using those big words because I like saying them. They mean something to me, but all it means is lock. I'm coming in here from plank. Solid foundation. Pushing through the heels already in plank. Yes, I'm locked even as I'm breathing. Strong arms. And done. Okay. I have become so obsessed with this pose that my day is not complete without it. It stretches out the backs of the legs. It strengthens the upper body. It stretches the back. Now, one of the most important things to know about this, and I wanted to give you this information afterwards so that you can see where you were through all of this, is it's not about straightening the legs. It's not about how wide you can go, how high up you can get your butt. It is about how long can you get your spine, okay? So when you're here, I'm gonna try to do this, and you're kind of feeling this stuff, we wanna really bend the knees, lift the booty up, lock the belly, and see if we can come from here to here, all right? So from here, it's almost like your belly button's reaching the upper thighs, your solar plex is going towards the thighs, you're pressing. So pushing away, you've got energy flowing through the hands and the feet. And here we go, long spine. So here, flatten it out. Now, a lot of times, guys, that's hard to do if we have inflexible hips, if the hips are a little bit tighter. So work with it, all right? One option may be that you want to come in a little higher for now. One option may be where you want to go out wider so that you can work more on the spine. If you go out wider, then you've got to really watch for the shoulders, because a lot of people want to sink in the shoulders like this. But if we do that, we're pinching again, and that's not proper shoulder alignment, and we will end up saying, Erica, I want a refund. This has not been good. Okay, that was a crash course. And if you have any questions on that, let me know, because I could build on each little finger for the downward facing dog. But again, that's not really what this is about. I want you to get comfortable with it, all right? So I love you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope this helped you. And let me know, if you don't mind, after you watch this, let me know if you watch the tutorial and what you thought about your downward facing dog. How are you feeling in your downward facing dog? Because that's what it's all about, your practice. I'm here for you guys. Bye-bye.